Hey guys, welcome to our channel.
Welcome.
My name is Fanta.
And it's your man Darwin.
So it's been a while since we've updated you guys on what's been going on in our lives. It's been a whirlwind. As you all know, we're all about adventure, having fun, all the good stuff. But we had a bit of a wake-up call a few years ago when Darwin was diagnosed with cancer shortly after we got married. Even though it felt like it was going downhill, we remained positive, and there are a couple tips that we want to share with you guys. If you're going through any hardship, and hopefully it can help you get through it. We'll also talk about how we got through it to where we are now, because we're in a much better place now, thank God.
Thank God. I remember it so clearly. It was 3 years ago. It felt like, at the moment, it felt like everything was getting just better and better. We had been married for 2 years. I had a new job lined up that was going to be paying me a lot more money. I was motivated for fitness. Like, everything just seemed so great. We were even thinking about like starting a family and everything. About 1 week before my final interview for that better paying job, that we got the news that I was diagnosed with cancer, and from that moment, it just flipped our entire world upside down. Literally 2 weeks later from getting the news, I was starting chemotherapy.
And it brings us to tip number 1, to expect the unexpected, because 27 years old, cancer is not in his family history, super healthy, personal trainer, health conscious, very aware of his health, eating clean, doing all the right things you would think. Young, healthy, active. To be diagnosed with cancer it just threw us for a loop. So tip number 1, expect the unexpected. Stay positive under the pressure. So babe, how did you feel when you got the call?
When I got the call and the news, I remember feeling so scared, feeling so hopeless, feeling like this was the end of my story, that everything that I had imagined for my life, all my dreams, all my hopes and aspirations were just crumbling, falling apart. There did come a point where we started chemotherapy, and in a lot of ways that brought me hope. It brought me a lot of comfort knowing that there's an official plan of action. There's something that I can do about the situation. It's not the sort of position where I can't do anything, but in fact, there was a plan. There was a cure.
A solution.
A solution, exactly.
And it was actually pretty crazy when we got the call, because we wanted answers. We wanted to know what the solution was, what we could do, because when you hear cancer, both of us, none of us have cancer in our family. You just think death and destruction and sorrow. And so we cried. Like, we cried for a very long time.
When we got the phone call, we cried. I remember crying on Fanta's shoulders. There were nights I fell asleep crying, and there were mornings where I woke up crying, and Fanta would just comfort me. Fanta had to be so strong throughout this process. You had to be strong. So I know, but even still, like, the people who care about others going through the situation, it takes a toll on them too. So like, how did you feel when we were diagnosed?
For me, it was crazy. Obviously, it was crazy. It just, like I said, I thought death, destruction, and I was just like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I also knew it wasn't about me in that moment. I'm a nurse, so for me, I'm thinking about solutions. I'm thinking of the medical side of it, and I'm just like, what are we gonna do to get through this? But also, I'm trying to manage your emotions. It's just a crazy, 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 crazy thing. I felt like I couldn't cry because I had to be strong, but I cried,
Of course, because, you cry because you care, and that brings us to tip number 2. Surround yourself by supportive, positive people, because if not for Fanta being there for me, I honestly think the outcome could have been different. Fanta and my family, our friends, we had a lot of support around us, and I thank God for that, because that's hard to come by.
And I would also give another tip. I would say be solution oriented. Can I throw that in there? I would say be solution oriented, because I think for us, the moment we got the phone call, it was all about how do we get through this.
It's true.
It just pushed us to get everything done. We put our head down, and literally it was like, this is what we're doing. Like, hoodie on low, focus, going through it. I remember it was Labor Day weekend, so we did have to wait to hear from the doctor, which was super anxiety inducing. But once we found out when chemotherapy was starting and everything that we had to do,
that's it.
You getting the chemo port,
it was on.
Us having to store semen in case we wanted to have a family. We had to hit the ground running. We had 2 weeks before we started chemo, and we were solution oriented. I think that was a huge, that was a really good trait that we had.
And connected to that, I'd like to add another tip. Have faith in the plan. Because when we were going through this moment, chemotherapy, everything, I don't think there was a moment where we discussed the reality that I could die.
We actually really never mentioned it. I don't even think we talked about it.
It wasn't a possibility in our imagination. We never allowed it to even enter our thought.
We didn't even speak it.
We didn't.
Yeah.
We just understood there was a plan, it had to be executed, and this was just a moment that we had to get through together. And we knew for a fact that we were going to get through it.
Granted, I think some of the sureness came from us having known each other for so long. If you guys don't know, we are high school sweethearts. We were together for a decade by the time he got diagnosed. So I think that we knew, like, we were gonna get through this together.
Yeah.
It was without a doubt we were gonna get through this.
There was nothing that was gonna come that could tear us apart or tear apart our faith, but we also didn't imagine that being the end of our story. We're hoping that our story can just bring hope for people who need healing too. Whether it's cancer, whether it's another sickness or anything that they're experiencing, just letting them know that there's hope.
Yeah, and you can get through it.
You can get through it.
Yeah.
We got through 2 rounds of chemotherapy, and then from there, once the tumor size got a little smaller, we did a surgery where they went in, removed the tumorous bone that had died, and they replaced it with implants. So I have new implants in my knee, half my femur, half my tibia. They
like a robot.
Literally, I'm like a cyborg. After the surgery, I had more chemotherapy left to be done just to make sure that they got down to every last cancer cell that could be floating in my body. We finally finished chemotherapy close to like a year from the point where we started. And then from that, it's really been about rehabilitation, getting back on my 2 feet, literally getting back on my own 2 feet, learning how to walk again, getting myself to a place where I can take out the trash. And
the little things.
The little things. A lot of the little things that during the process, Fanta had to do a lot of, you know, so thank you for that.
I'm strong.
You are strong.
Wait.
We went through that process. Even though life was not at its best, we remained positive. During the cancer journey, I think that was the moment where we actually traveled the most. We went to so many places. And then even after we finished chemotherapy, we dabbled in some travel nursing.
We went to Idaho, we went across the country. We're on the East Coast, so we just
we actually drove across the country.
Yes, 4 times, guys, 4 times. And when we came back, we hit a deer, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, when we returned back from travel nursing, we actually discovered that the implant that he had in his leg was loose. So we went through another journey when we thought he was supposed to be healing. And he was actually wondering why was it taking so long, because it was like past a year and he still felt like he wasn't making any progress. And they found out that the rod was loose and he ended up having to do another surgery so that they can put in a bigger piece. So that was a whole other healing journey. Yeah,
which I'm continuing to work on now, but it's a massive difference. This second surgery is a massive difference from that first. I'm actually getting to a place now where I am walking without a cane, no crutch, a lot less pain, and feeling more confident and walking really fast.
Guys, he dances.
Yeah. You know, like,
we just went to a wedding and he was the life of the party.
I was dancing. Like, we've come a long way.
And it's just crazy because I just think about you from the walker to having crutches, being on crutches for so long. We were in travel nursing, he was on crutches. Like, we were on crutches for like a year and a half. And then getting the second surgery and then it just changing everything. And now we're in this amazing place now where you're actually really walking unassisted, dancing, in the gym, back to being in the gym, you know. And honestly, I always say it feels like we're newlyweds again, because like we were only married for 2 years and then this happened, and now it's like, okay, let's rewind time. Now
let's pick up where we left off.
Now let's One thing that cancer definitely taught us, life is short. You never know when your time is gonna end, and really live life to the fullest. I mean, we were living life to the fullest, but cancer gave us a new meaning to living life to the fullest. We were just like, let's go out, let's explore. Even while he was going through chemo, we were going on trips, and he would be sick for part of the trip, but then being there in the sun and the sand with the sea would help him with the symptoms of chemotherapy, which were crazy and brutal. So another tip that I would say is to continue doing the things you love, even while you're going through a tough journey.
That's a good one.
And so we made sure that we did the things that made us happy while we went through it. And even though it was hard, in the end, those little pieces of joy helped fuel the journey. And I honestly think it helped in healing.
Absolutely.
Even though you didn't want to do some things and I had to push him to do it, but in the end he looks back and he's like, wow, like I did that.
Yeah, because you know, when you're going through it, you're in pain, you don't feel motivated to do the things that make you happy. And so, you know, although like we give it as a tip, there's also like the shadow of that where it's not going to be easy to do the things you're happy. When you're feeling down, when you're feeling disappointed, when you're feeling like full of doubt, you're not going to want to do the things that excite you. But there's a part of you that you're going to have to bring out. You're going to have to really dig deep, find the will to do those things.
Another tip to go off of that would be to also take a break when you have to. Knowing your body, you need a lot of rest when you're going through chemo, when you're recovering from surgery. Timing events for when you feel your strongest. So like even when we went on trips or went on dates, we made sure that it was after he had finished chemo and he was starting to feel a little better before his next session. So yeah, just being mindful and learning how your body responds and when you need to recover.
Absolutely. And in any difficult situation that you might be going through, you might feel compelled to push yourself harder, to push through, which is fantastic. That's really important to do. But like Fanta said, remember when you need to take a step back, because sometimes taking a step back, taking a break, or pausing just for a moment can really give you the energy to go even further.
Exactly. Another tip I would say is to laugh often. So even though we were going through something which seemed really dark, we still managed to always crack jokes with each other and still be our funny, bubbly selves and banter with each other. And kudos to you for even, like you were even making jokes about cancer, which is some dark humor in there. But
you gotta laugh at the face of your enemies. So
but having laughter definitely helps boost mood, and I think laughter can be had at home and you don't necessarily have to go out and find it. So do what makes you happy, whether it's an activity, whether it's with the person you love, whether it's through conversation. But I would definitely say don't just curl up in the ball and be sad. I think getting out there and trying to be joyous and pushing through the sadness, it's a big, big, big help in healing.
One of the things they say is attitude follows behavior. So sometimes you just have to get started. Everything else will follow behind. Your spirit, your attitude, your mood. God willing, it comes together. And that brings us to what I think is one of the most important tips, which is prayer and meditation. If not for prayer, if not for feeling guided and actually being guided by God, believing in His plan for us, in God's plan and His healing, I don't believe that we would be here right now doing this video with you. So right now, everything is on the up and up. Everything feels a lot more positive, but there are those moments where in my heart, I feel like at any moment, the rug can be pulled right from under me. A lot like how it was when we were diagnosed with cancer.
Expecting unexpected.
Tip number one. But God is good.
All the time. So stay tuned for more cancer updates, more adventures from us. We're back. We're feeling more like ourselves. We got a couple trips coming up, more scans. We're looking forward to those results. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for the rest of our journey. Life is an adventure. Follow ours.